Hello and welcome to the Hitachi Data Systems demo. My name is Mauricio Daher. I'm Practice Director for Content and Cloud Enablement. Today I am going to demonstrate how the Star Storage Documentum connector for HCP works. I'd like to also thank Karina Belchu for setting up such a great demo environment at Star Storage. The first thing I'd like to cover is how the architecture works in the connector. There are two components: the content transfer agent to HCP and the content read plugin. We're going to look at those two components during the demo. And what's important here is to know that this was implemented in the context of how Documentum works. So that's why there are two separate components. And the connector works very well in that environment. And we're going to look at how data can be saved and recovered and so forth in various scenarios. So the HCP sits prominent in that architecture. It's where the content is held, and it is a very valuable feature to have. In particular, having a replication site for a second HCP allows the connector to respond to an outage. Here we have an example you may have seen before with a user or an application ingesting content into the Documentum connector, where it goes onto the HCP. The two components are there, the read and write pieces. So what happens is the dark green is the actual object holding the file that gets ingested. The smaller yellow are the metadata for the object. And that provides a rich set of control and recovery functionality, as well as search capability. So what happens if we have an outage that affects the internal database of Documentum? Right? That could be a serious thing to recover from. Documentum doesn't have very good bare bones recovery capabilities. So there is a built-in feature in the connector that allows the restore recovery, not only of the object holding the data, but also the metadata objects that are used to repopulate that database with the missing metadata. In addition, metadata query can be run on the HCP independently or through a programmatic channel. That's what we do in this example. But at the end, we're able to find the document through that query and set a legal hold. So this demo is going to consist of two parts. The first is the installation process of the connector and connecting it to the HCP. And in our case, we're going to run through an installation on a Linux server where Documentum is installed. And the second part is a demonstration of ingesting a document, validating the document, looking at the metadata, using that metadata to recover the object after an accidental deletion. And since hold is already set, we see that the document is still on the HCP, was never deleted, where normally it would have been, but the recovery process is demonstrated for that case. And once we can run a search on that document and find it on the HCP, we do that several times, and finally setting a legal hold on the documents that we've saved on the HCP. And that's done programmatically. It can alternatively be done through through the console, Search Console directly. That would be the out-of-band method. That's very simple to do. So let us get on to the demo. So as mentioned, Red Hat Enterprise 6.3 is the platform, and the documentation is actually very good. We're looking at a flow diagram for the install process here, looking at the data model installation and running through, these are typical Documentum type install procedures. So here we're just adding IP address to set up the document broker, and details of how the HCP is going to be set up. And we have a log file set at the bottom. And now let's look at the read component that we talked about before. So that is the plugin that's needed to read the content back from the HCP. So just sit back, watch carefully. This is a process that involves a lot of clicking and going through, looking at properties windows and so forth. What's important to note about Documentum is that the way it works is it uses jobs that run in the background, and you'll find that much of a Documentum admin's time is spent waiting for jobs to complete. You'll see that in a second. Yeah, so we started the installation, run through the plugin. We're creating the plugin, configuring the plugin. So we're looking for locations of things, of various components. And this init file has the URL for the namespace and the admin password, account and password and key for logging in. So here we're copying methods which are needed to configure the Documentum server. And we're finding where things are located in this installation, looking at environmental variables. So here we note that jar file is the same that we have, and so we know that the install worked and things are already copied as expected. So a lot of this will be verifying that things have been done correctly by the wizard, the install wizard. Yep, and we see that things are there as expected. Now configuring logging, we're going to take a look at the init file. Did that get set up correctly? Now let's go take a look. Okay, log4 is set up. Again, details here are not so relevant to the demo, just to give you a flavor of what needs to get done and what needs to be verified should something go wrong with the installation. Alright, here we're actually configuring the jobs, and star storage jobs always start with an SS, so that's a good way to filter out just the things that we care about, and instead of everything else that Documentum has in it. So here we're noting the attributes that are set. We see the name of the HCP, namespace and tenant, and so forth. And where things need to come back when we ingest new documents, they would go into new documents, for example. And here's where you would edit those the values for the method arguments. And a lot of this can be manual, but there are canned methods that are supplied with the connector to do most things that you need. So moving on to the next step. Boom, we're done. So the installation is complete, and let's ingest some documents into Documentum. So we're going to import files, and Karina found some great artwork that the one file that she brings up is kind of scary and very if you're a sailor and you see this picture, it'll make the hairs on the back of your neck stand on end. And let's see. So here the message just says that you can add the features for each file individually or do everything at once. So she chose to do everything, all 6 files at once. So we're ingesting all 6 files not one at a time. And so here we notice that the properties window told us that the documents were in the local file store 0, which is the local disk storage. And we're going to look at the properties here. She's going to add, this is where the metadata is added. Right? We're going to, under subject, we're adding image. And that metadata you'll find throughout the demo is preserved when we look at the document again and pull it back from the HCP. Again, we have to wait till things finish. This is the sync process that actually writes out to the HCP. And the method attributes are here. Again, we see the HCP namespace and tenant, and other attributes that are needed for that method. So we're saving it out with that job. Let's go look at the namespace. All right, what do we see? We're going to run a query, and we're looking at we have to go find the document that was ingested and look at properties for it. And so we have to wait till things finish. All documents have been imported. So those are now part of Documentum, and they sit in file store 1, you'll see. So their image at the top is the metadata. Oh, and they have been synced out to the HCP. So very good. So we confirm that it's been copied out. And there it is. A very scary scene. I hope that guy tacks before he goes over the edge. So we're looking at properties, grabbing the name of the file, doing a metadata query on the search console of the HCP. And this is a simple query. We're just looking for it based on the object name, the file name. Look at metadata, and here we see that the ingest time, access, and modify time, change time, and so forth. DPL1 is set, and it's not replicated, and it's set to shred on delete. And we see the file again from the query. And let's go look at what is saved in that through the browser on the HCP. And that's it. Now let's set legal hold on all those documents. There's actually a method in a job that runs that does that programmatically from Documentum through the connector. So here, Karina is checking the method attributes. We're going to find the objects, and we're going to set, if you notice at the end there, hold option 1. That sets hold on all of those documents. And let's see what happens. Let's verify it's activating the job, and it will run. And keep in mind, in a normal environment in production, these jobs would just run periodically. They're scheduled to run and or respond to different events. And syncing and checking here is just for expediency for the demo. It's very hard to predict when these things will run. It's up to Documentum to decide, really. Alright, so updating hold is the job that's running, and once it finishes, check to see if it ran without error, and it did. No failed objects. And let's go check in the namespace browser, and hold is set, and it is enabled on all these objects, on all 6. And that is it for legal hold. Now, let's look at the next part. So here we've accidentally clobbered a file. And what happens? What do we do? So we deleted selecting, well, we selected a version, and it's still on the HCP because remember, hold was set, so it's still available directly from the namespace browser. But within Documentum, it's no longer there, and we're going to look at where this file can be restored to from the HCP. And here it's set to go into from the external file store into the restore folder to the left, bottom left. All right, so there's the namespace and tenant, and the target is restore in the restore folder. And when we run the job, there's a restore checker and the actual restore execution. Both of those have to finish. And just so you know, doing this for one file takes this long, but doing this for several files would probably take as long. It's just a function of Documentum running things when it gets to it. And there it is. All right, let's look at the recovered file. Not only is the file recovered, but that metadata that we stored earlier as a tag is still there. And where is it now? It's in file store 1. It's been copied back from the HCP, and the metadata has been copied into the database in Documentum as well. And here we're looking at the end of the demo. All right, so thank you very much. If you have any questions, please don't hesitate to email me, mauriciodaher@hds.com, and we'll be seeing you out there. Take care.